Good afternoon, morning, or night, depending on whenever you're watching this. I am your play-by-play caster, username underscore Intel here, joined by Misfit. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. It is a beautiful day for Overwatch, at least where I am. It is pouring rain, and I'm very excited to bring you guys some Get Good EU. We got some great games scheduled today. We're going to start off in our intermediate division with Hexen versus Curious Cats. Then we'll throw it on over to the advanced division later. But let's start with this one. We've got a very, very good game scheduled here between these two teams. Both these two teams sitting at 4-2 currently in our standings. So going to be a very interesting game between some pretty good teams.
Oh, I always love it when the teams are kind of even in scoreline because that means both of these teams are going to have to go very hard on each other if they want a chance of making sure that they end a bit more positive into the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting one. We're going to start off here on Lijiang Tower, which is going to be, I think, very, very interesting. Lijiang Tower, a very, very standard map. I feel like everyone just runs this in scrims because it is like the first map that shows up when you enter a lobby or show up in a lobby. It's just like the default map. So everyone scrims it. So people are typically very, very good on this map. We see a lot of Rush, typically, a lot of that Ryan, Diva, Bap, Lucio, McCree, with some potential for sim junk. A lot of sim stuff on this map in particular. Night Market and Control Center both very good for that. So I'm very, very excited to see what each of these teams decides to pull out.
Oh, me heavily too. I think the popularity of Lijiang Tower is not only because it's one of the best looking control maps that we are able to play on, but more or less it's because of the diverse compositions that you can end up running. Besides from just a Symmetra, if you just want to decide to run pure dive and just have a far in the sky to annoy your enemy team, it's 100% viable on each and every one of the points. And I think that's what gives kind of a big love for it from everyone.
Yeah, no, I definitely do love the control map type just because like we do see variations in meta all the time. Usually, at least one of the 3 points plays differently than the others. On some maps, every point plays differently, and Lijiang is one of those places where every point plays differently. And I like that a lot. It leads to a lot of very, very interesting gameplay, and it really shows us who the better teams are, right? Because there could be teams that are good on like one composition, but it takes a really, really strong team to be good at multiple compositions.
Definitely believe what you mean with that. But do you ever hear about that myth that the lesser team always wins control?
I do hear that a lot, and that yeah, I don't, I disagree with that personally. I do think the reason behind it is just that control is very different than the other map types. Of course, our other map types are hybrid, assault, and escort, and they all play very differently than control. So I think the logic behind that is because control is such a different map type. Whoever wins it doesn't really give us a good idea of who's going to win the series because the other three maps don't play very similar to it.
I would definitely have to say, for me at least, I can't always believe it because I think when it comes to the first map, every team is readjusting, trying to get back into that mindset after not playing for a day or two. And every team right now is looking to win. So I think after map one, always after control, every team is just ready. They're warmed up. And sometimes that means the team that lost ends up starts to sweep. We've seen it happen a lot of times, but that's just not really more of a myth, but just improvement in skills.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid way to look at it. There's definitely some time off. I can say personally from my experience as a player, the first map is always very nervous. Like the first point of control is always very, very. There's a lot of nerves, a lot of jitters, just because you're like getting back into the swing of things. So I do think there is some truth to that these players are readjusting, getting back into the game. But no, we're going to start off here on Night Market. Of course, a popular strategy here is to run Brawl Comps and teleport to that window right above point with the Symmetra, drop on down, and then there's typically a very, very intense brawl for a few seconds before one team gets the upper hand. And then usually whoever loses the fight, provided they don't have ults, will switch to something like a Pharah composition, something where they can poke at the point and really abuse the fact that the enemy team will be stuck on a Symmetra comp.
Man, I have been seeing a lot of teams end up running this Reinhardt Orisa instead of rather a Sigma or Diva switching it up. They're pretty much wanting to want to have more value with the shield, as well as it gives Symmetra a lot more value when it comes into these fights. But we also almost saw IMRI on the Doomfist. I'm a little upset not seeing that come out. Doomfist is so powerful in this first initial fight.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. very, very good at countering both Symmetra and Mei, so it's a very, very powerful thing to come out with.
Yeah, but look, they're already back onto the fight. The boot managing to slow them down. Immortality just so they make sure that they survive. The shields making sure that they can't have any damage. Hexen just having to back up out of the point, managing to fall onto the trap and just being burst down by the Junkrat. Looks like Nico's going to be going down to Symmetra, just being able to start walking through them. And already Hexen's going to have to go back to the spawn room and decide what they want to do next.
Yeah, that was just the age-old, way this goes is whoever gets the point first, whoever gets that point control first typically just wins. And Curious Cats just a little bit quicker there with their teleport, and they will get the first point cap here. And they have a Riptire to spare, so good job on him.
Look at that. Already the Riptire coming out. The Immortality manages to save them before anything, and that wall's going to stop them from almost walking in. But doesn't matter because look at that. Slave King already using the window forces everyone on Curious Cats wanting to back up. Looks like they don't have 9 lives, and they want to respect the enemy team a little.
Really good use of the ult there from both sides, kind of stalling each other out.
Yeah, but now they're going back into the fight, using that wall to block off the Reiner, but the boots come out. Immortality used. Nico goes down. They've lost their main tank on the side of Hexen, and the Symmetra wall allowing them just to continuously walk forward. There's no damage splitting through that. Don't know how well the Mei's going to be continuing to do because they just can't follow up on the walls.
Yeah, it's good at splitting people, but it's hard to find an angle, especially on a point like this where the angles are just so weird. So now Hexen finds himself in a very difficult spot where they don't have any really, really big ultimates. They're very close to this Blizzard, though, so keep an eye on Shatter's ult charge going into this next fight. They'll definitely be trying to charge that, as Curious Cats has nothing to negate it with.
Yep, following through the same strategy as they just want to go through this checkpoint. Look at that, they're already preparing. The Shatter slams down and hits a couple of them, but it looks like he's not going to be able to survive. The Salamander comes out too late. The counter Shatter being used by Haro, but the Kree being able to shut it down. Riptire making sure to even it out, and it looks like everyone on Hexen just having to go back. How unfortunate. That Shatter only hit a few, pretty much only the Reinhardt or a couple people on the left side. It didn't get the Symmetra on the right.
Yeah, just a little bit late there on the beat from Halo. If that was a little bit sooner, maybe it could have gone differently, but unfortunately Nico fell, and they weren't able to follow up with the Shatter. Speaking of Shatter now, Shatter's got the only useful ult for Hexen right now. Going to be using this Blizzard. We're going to see how it goes for him.
Look at that, able to get Zenpai on this fight. The Symmetra wall blocking up most of the damage, able to split up Hexen. They're just trying to deny the Reinhardt coming back, but it doesn't even matter because now they're having to relocate the sources. Simwall now gone. There's only a D.Va left on the point and Mei, but they're dangerously low, not able to survive. They had a glimpse of a chance, but in all honesty, Cats don't die very easily, and they're grumpy. They're here to show something as they take this control point.
Yeah, that was a very, very dominant showing there for Curious Cats. But, I don't know if this is a very good, I guess, insight into how these teams will stack up. Night Market is a very unique point with that strategy. We definitely will not be seeing a mirror match of that Symmetra comp again. So now we'll get into a much more standard brawl point, and that is going to be on Control Center here. It looks like both teams will be sticking with a brawl composition. We'll be sticking with that Bap Lucio, but some slight differences now. There will be the Ryan Sigma and McCree Junk from Curious Cats here. This is a little bit interesting to me. Typically, teams opt for the Symmetra just because the turrets and the damage is just really, really good. But McCree is a much more consistent pick overall than Symmetra, so I'm gonna be keeping a very curious eye to see how this works out for Curious Cats.
Yeah, they're not even wanting to attempt to take server room. They want to force the enemy team out, and they want to brawl it the same way they've always done it. Look at that, Shatter being able to get out the Emmer. So now they're not going to be having a McCree, but the Junkrat's playing in so much damage. The shield blocking a majority of it. Looks like Aram is not going to be able to do much as everyone on their team is just being shut down. It looks like in the end, it looks like Shatter's going to be able to get more value on this Junkrat, especially because there's less shields. Although it looks like IMRI is just going to be having more ult charge, so he's overall doing more damage.
Yeah, and that McCree really did not get a lot done. Those two shields really stunting what he could get done there. And the Symmetra, on the other hand, just doing a lot of work and a lot of charge there. And now Hexen's sitting pretty on this point.
Yep, they want to rotate straight through server room, gives them the high ground, but Haro's going to be shut down. Looks like they're going to be trading on main tanks, and that's Symmetra's dangerously low. Having to use a shield just to save themselves. Junkrat being bursted down. Unfortunate, the Baptiste being staggered a tiny bit. Everyone else on the side of Curious Cats having to go back to spawn, but I'd say, man, they're getting closer and closer to these fights.
Hexen's doing a really weird thing here. They're not going up and holding the choke. They're actually opting to hold point here, which seems kind of weird at first, but given the fact that they do have the Orisa there, I guess I do kind of understand it. It's definitely not ideal, but it is a weird strategy that does seem to be working pretty well.
Slab gonna, both windows being used, and oh my goodness, Shatter with the mine throws it in. It does so much damage through those windows, and it already gets 2. And look at that, already Curious Cats. They have almost 4 ultimates, and they still haven't had a chance to really take a fight.
Yeah, and few characters love that BAP window as much as Junk does, just because, you know, already does a ton of damage, and now all of his abilities are one-shots if he hits you with them, so very, very good play there from Shatter, and now Hexen's just in very, very prime position to hold this with this Supercharger and Riptire.
Both Riptires being used, looking for something, but Halo uses that Sound Barrier. Is going to be able to sustain them. Shatter's Riptire is going to be gone, and they're going to be traded inside of that. How unlucky. But it looks like they still have the chance to fight this back as the Orisa is just pressuring out the Symmetra from anything. But the charge goes in, manages to find out that Junkrat, and now they're looking for the rest of the targets. The Shatter comes out, managing to hit the Symmetra, and Nico already. Curious Cats looking like they're going to be having the advantage inside this fight as the Orisa is just trying to back out. However, your Wraith, your Halt is now gone. You're already at 99%. There's no reason to sell anymore. And it looks like Curious Cats have still a chance to bring this back.
Yeah, and Curious Cats can hold this now. They will be coming up with a window, a Supercharger, and this High Noon here. If they can find value out of these ultimates, they can definitely find a way to hold this. However, that High Noon is really going to be hard to get value out of against 2 shields. So keep an eye on how Zimmer decides to use that.
Look at this, they're already preparing, rushing out. They look to Shatter, but he gets blocked. Unfortunately enough, the High Noon only hitting his shields, but they managed to get out Zenpai with those picks. I remember making sure to make it uneven inside these fights. The Junkrat is playing so aggressively, finding out 2 picks, looking just to continue walking in. They're finally finding their momentum as they're just trying to stop or find any type of stagger possible.
That High Noon, of course, not finding the value there, but it does whittle down the shields a little bit, and then Civio's Supercharger, which is one of the best ultimates in the game, right up there with EMP, does find the value, and Curious Cats is able to get the fight win there. Hexen now coming in with a very, very low ult economy, going to be having to deal with this window. We'll see how they take this one on.
They do an amazing job of immediately rotating back into the small corridor so they can ignore that window, automatically wasting Senpai's abilities. And now they're going to be walking in with the Sim Shield wall, just already blocking out so much damage. The Riptire being used from both of these Junkrats, only managing to find out Halos. So there's no sound barrier on the side of Hexen, but Shatter lost their own Riptire. That's very unfortunate. Now it's kind of a slow fight as Glimmer is finally being able to get some value and start shooting, but immediately Shatter just wants to end that career. The Orisa just being able to stay onto the point for a bit longer. Everyone on Hexen having to kind of hurry up. We're now in last fight territory, and they are struggling.
Yeah, no, none of these fights have been very dominant wins for Curious Cats, but they've slowly gotten it done, and now they are approaching last fight territory with a pretty even ult economy, and they have the positional advantage. So right now, Curious Cats in prime position to potentially win this map, but Imri goes down.
Oh, that's not going to be good. Look at that. The Doomfist comes back, managing to find out Zenpai as well. The Shatter being used, but it looks like it gets blocked by the wall. Doomfist getting so much value, just being ignored. Same with the Orisa. They managed to swap comps and still bring it back as if nothing was an issue. Look at that. We're going to be seeing them take it as the Doomfist finishes off the Junkrat. Now we're going to the last point, and I feel this is going to be the best one to understand both of these teams' play style.
Yeah, I think Shatter heard me talking about how Curious Cats was in prime position to win. He's like, nah, hold my beer. I've got this. Goes and finds a little 2-piece there, and that secures the point for Hexen. So we will be going to a map 3 of our control point. And this is by far my favorite map of the 3 in Lijiang Tower, just because I like dive a lot. And this is the dive map. Through all metas in Overwatch ever, this has been the map where we see some dive, just because it's very open. You can't really force a brawl comp here just because dive gets too much value. And of course, we will be seeing both these teams opt for some type of dive comp. But Hexen here on something very weird. They're going to be going with this Pharah ball composition, which has actually seen some play in contenders. Maybe not with a Mercy Lucio, but I am excited to see how they decide to run this.
Honestly, I have big feelings when it comes to it. It invokes a different play style, but they seem to know how to run it. Already taking up that Brig Lucio trade in. Looks like Shatter's going to be hacked and has to back up out of that fight. The Mercy Pocket's doing an amazing job of keeping Shatter up They're managing to get that boot, forcing Glimmers out, but they're going to be able to survive. In the end, Hexen have so much control right now.
Yeah, the way the Pharah comp likes to play is it's kind of, the Pharah pokes from range, right? And it almost sets up opportunities for the ball and the Tracer. They still engage like normal, right? But that poke damage, that high damage from that damage boosted Pharah, it will create opportunities and create low health targets that the Tracer and ball can follow up on. And it just leads to this multiple threats where there's just so many angles that Curious Cats has to worry about. And right now, Hexen getting it done very nicely.
Yeah, Halo able to survive just barely by a skin of their teeth, and the Tracer managing to find out the break. Their dive is not being able to sustain themselves well, although they managed to find out Halo trying to focusing the ball or get some type of pick. The D.Va managing to find out Zenpai in the back, and now they've lost their consistent form of healing. The res also goes on to Halo, but Slapkin's going to be training in the end. Over Curious Cats want to back up and give some respects on the Hexen. They're doing an amazing job of just displacing and making Curious Cats so uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, Curious Cats seems very lost right now. They don't really know what target to go on. All these targets so mobile, and they don't really seem to have a clear target.
Look, now they're re-engaging back into this fight. They're going to be relying on this Graviton Surge that's building up, same with the Primal, but their Sombra not close to EMP. Look at that, the Pulse Bomb managing to shut down Zenpai. No Nano Boost coming out of this fight. The boot comes out, the Zarya is now gone, and the direct hit onto the Mercy just going to be ending this so quick. They're now on the bright. Wait, the Graviton Surge gets committed.
Interesting. Probably not what they wanted, but they will be making the swap over to D.Va for now. So maybe it was kind of just, I'm going to swap anyway. Might as well try to get some value out of it. Curious Cats coming up. They do have this EMP, so they'll be looking to use this as much as they can here. Look for the ball right now on point.
Yeah, look, that Nano comes out, the EMP managing the hit too, but the barrage is there to cover up any issues. D.Va Bomb also laid as just security. It was a bail checkout, and Hexen do an amazing job of blocking, of just LOSing that EMP. Only 2 people got hit by it, and they just perfectly waited out. Placed that D.Va Bomb. Once they started running out and panicking at time, it left Hexen a guaranteed opportunity to win Lijiang Tower.
Alright. I do want to talk a little bit about that comp there. So typically when we run like a dive composition, especially with like a ball or something, you'll have an Ana or something immobile that another dive can actually follow up on, like a Zen or an Ana. But the weird thing about Hexen's comp is all their targets were so mobile and so survivable on their own that Curious Cats did not have a very clear engaged target, right? There was no one they could like very clearly go on. So what they should have done is they should have just used their abilities to like gain space so that Hexen couldn't just easily like abuse a kill box against them. But they seemed so lost on what to do there. And honestly, I don't blame them. It was a very, very weird composition that worked very, very well for Hexen there. So kudos to them.
Yeah, I truly don't think many teams end up kind of squirming against ball compositions and such. However, when it comes to these Junkrats, I'd love to say that they did some very impressive styles. More importantly, Shatter. It was on for less time and it's almost caught up to MRI. But look at that, already just doubling the damage. But Shatter got 1 death. Mind you, Shatter did only play for 1 map. On 1 point of Junkrat. But still, that's absolutely insane.
Yeah, no, Shatter was very, very impactful there on Control Center, especially there at the end with that little 2-piece to secure the map. Hexen there taking a very, very clean victory on our first map here. I was a little surprised. We after that first map, Curious Cats with a very, very dominant performance, but Hexen finding the way to bring it back, and kudos to them.
Big love. However, I just want to say, I think this gives kind of a really good in-depth. I'm now starting to understand that Hexen are a team that will probably scrim a lot or very hard because that ball composition could be very struggling to run. However, Curious Cats seem to struggle a lot when it comes to communication or target focus since the ball would just commit in, the Pharah would get them, and they stuck onto their comp for so long that they struggled to kind of adapt to it.
Yeah, no, for sure. They definitely were struggling to adapt. That it's just the Mercy Lucio just is so strange. Like the Lucio doesn't really do a lot in that comp, but it was just good enough to throw off Curious Cats because they were like, we don't know what to do when there's a Lucio here. We want to see an Ana, we want to see a Zen, we want to see something we can dive. You can't dive a Lucio. He's just gonna boop you away and then wall ride at the speed of sound. Like it's just I love seeing this, right? This is one of the beauties about Diamond Overwatch is you can still get away with this weird stuff really well, and it just makes the elo so interesting to watch because you have teams that will run these weird comps like Mercy Lucio Dive, and they'll get away with it because it's just weird enough to work.
It's truly no. It's my favorite thing about these type of elos. There are the teams ready to mimic, and there are the teams ready to just stick onto what they're comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. And now as we get into our next map here, we will be going to King's Row, which will lend itself to a little bit more of a brawl composition. I suppose Double Bubble still pretty good here as well. But most teams, especially below Grandmaster Elos, will typically just run Brawl simply because it's just this is the Brawl map, right? This is everyone knows it. Everyone loves King's Row for that reason. This is the map where you just run Reinhardt and you just brawl. So I would expect to see both teams run some sort of brawl comp. Gonna be curious to see what each team opts for. We haven't seen either of them run the traditional McCree yet. I believe Hexen ran it very briefly on the first point of Lijiang, but it didn't really go too well for them. So I'm curious to know how this map will go if both those teams decide to mirror on the McCree.
I would have to say, more importantly, I'm very excited to see Shatter back onto this Junkrat. King's Row has such tight corridors and narrow areas, so that Junkrat can get so much value just standing in one spot, shooting into a corner, and just going flat out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm more curious to see if any teams will end up running the AC-130 strategy. No, look at that, both running the traditional composition that McCree, and it's going to be all up to how comfortable they feel engaging off of these walls.
Yeah, no, this is the way this McCree comp plays, it's pretty much you just play for your wall, right? You go hard when your wall's up, you look to isolate a target, and you look to kill it and burst it down really fast. And of course, both these team comps have ways to deal with that. They have the Baptiste who can eye field over the wall using his exo boots. They have Fiora, or excuse me, they have Diva, which Fiora is on, same with Civio, who can fly over the wall and DM whoever gets caught to try to keep them alive. So there are ways to deal with it, but that is the typical way we see this McCree comp run. And when the Maywall isn't up, both teams will just kind of poke and play the resource game. So it's a very interesting, very fluid composition that leads to a very fun
yeah, look at that already. The Maywall's out. These teams are trying to find so much value. Amocelli's already being used, but they're going to be splitting up closely into this fight. The headshot on Taharo's going to be shutting it down, but Nico's also going to be traded out from the maze. But Curious Cats don't have the advantage anymore without their Reinhardt. They don't have the ability to continue walking in. They're going to be losing glimmers inside this fight and just losing the mech as well. So now the maze is going to be shot down. And it's just so unfortunate as Curious Cats having to continuously move back.
Yeah, Hexen there with a very clean first fight there. Slavking gonna already have this window. They're probably gonna look to use that as soon as possible. And you know, they're also close to their high noon as well, which is pretty impressive. So we'll have to be seeing how he decides to use this as we get into our next fight here.
Rotating around this shrine, that high noon is now built, and they're prepared to use that. Maywall's going to be forcing them back, and now they have control of the point. But the high noon's there, the shield's broken, not to be able to defend Immortality, making sure that they live, but Nico's going to be shut down. Nico's going to shut down Haro. It's just so unfortunate. We're stuck by the Maywall. Now the DMAC going out. They're not being able to sustain themselves for too long. Keep your eyes on the prize as we see Hexen just continuously not afraid of anything Curious Cats throws at them.
Yeah, and Curious Cats here now looking with a very interesting ult economy. They will have a window to match Slavking, and they will have this Blizzard, but they also have to worry about both those abilities from Hexen, and they also have to worry about the Shatter from Nico, which can just be a complete game changer if they're able to land it. So Curious Cats needs to play this fight smart if they want to have a chance here.
Oh, they managed to get the wall, but Nico seemed to be on top of it. Now they're just looking to kind of sustain that. Blizzard gets used. Same with the Sound Barrier. It's going to sustain Haro as they try to go out. And it looks like Faro's able to eat the Blizzard from Curious Cats, but they said we don't need it. Popping out the Diva Bomb. Faro's just trying to even it up, turning them back. The Shatter comes out, making sure to hit one, but it looks like we see the remake kill, but they're just being able to continuously walk forward. There's no one left on the side of Hexen to kind of stop this fight. Kind of an even trade, I would say, but the ult ability just looked better out of Curious Cats.
Haro there has got to be the MVP. Just the raw charge onto Nico to pretty much just take him out of the fight. And his team is able to follow up, use their ults effectively. And Curious Cats with a very clean first point take with 4 minutes now as we get into the streets phase.
Yeah, Both of these teams have about a fair even amount of ultimates. However, the advantage is on Hexen, but it looks like Curious Cats don't even care. They want to continue walking forward. That Maywell's going to be able to stop them going. But the bumper shatter turns the corner and hits it. Shuts down that Lucio, and if you know anything about Brawl, you can't continue fighting without your speed boost.
Yeah, that is a very accurate assumption. I do like Hexen not getting too aggressive here. Don't want to chase too many kills. They will finish off the low health D.Va, but they're playing smart here. They know this corridor is super good for a Mei. The Mei wall is so good at isolating targets in this choke. So they're just going to wait back and they're going to play what they know will work for them.
Now we see Curious Cats returning back into this fight. They're ready to start taking some room. The window gets used by Slabskin to be able to sustain them for a bit more and pump out a lot of damage. That D.Va Bomb trying to make some room, but the Sound Barrier gets invested. The Immortality not reaching that Reinhardt, and it's going to be shutting them down. Now they're just continuously walking forward. Nico does go dangerously low, but they have such good understanding of when to engage and when to not, because Nico was dangerously low, and any other tank would have just ran for it and blamed the supports for not healing them enough.
Yeah, no, definitely a very, very nice job from him. Good job there to not be caught off guard by the bomb shatter combo there from Curious Cats. Doesn't find the value that I think they were looking for, and then the wall from Shatter is just perfect. Isolates Haro, and that's another clean fight win for Hexen. Now Curious Cats is going on a bit of a weird rotation. They don't want to deal with this choke, so they're actually going to go all the way around and wrap around from this high ground. This is a very interesting strategy, but I think it could work well for them.
Yep, that Blizzard gets invested. Same with the window. They're going to be pumping in a lot of damage at LOSing. Looks like they shut down BX before the high noon can be engaged. But the Immortality is making sure that everyone on Hexen has to play on the opposite route. Now they're using their own high noon, just looking to find one target. The Blizzard might be able to freeze, but shuts down Nico the moment the shield drops. That Blizzard being able to find out two targets. A Shatter, especially finding out Glimmers. They may have the ability to bring this back, especially without Curious Cats. Reinhardt just walking in. The D.Va being able to get the rematch, but looks like Fury is going to be having the D.Va Bomb throwing it at the choke. Nobody can escape. The Sound Barrier gets used just to sustain them for a tiny bit longer, but the fight's still somewhat even. That Reinhardt looking to get much. Slab King now going down. They're going to be able to shut down Haro, but look at that. Heiyu's going to be traded out inside this fight. The Reinhardt on the side of Hexen's going to be returning in, so they may have a chance for a re-engage, but it seems like they are very unconfident to do so.
Yeah, Curious Cats, though, with a very interesting rotation, and at first, you know, Hexen did a great job at rotating away from it, but as the fight sustained on for longer and longer, Curious Cats was just able to find more value, and they're able to pull off a very, very scrappy fight win. Now we're going to the final fight of this point. No real big ultimates to speak of. It's going to have to be a very, very clean fight from both sides.
Yeah, but that window through the fire strike, Nico played the perfect angle. Manages to get the 3K by shutting down Haro. And that fight was pretty much ended the moment you let Nico survive. The wall was there, but they were just unready, and the perfect Mei wall also allows them to stagger out this baby D.Va. Don't know how confident you want to be with that, especially with the 250 damage.
Alright, well they do not have to get back to this time around. But no, Hexen there with a very, very nice job. You know, Window isn't exactly a fight-winning ultimate, you know, in this composition. You know, when you have the Rein Orisa and you can pull with the Window and the Fire Strike, it is a good combo. But in a comp like this where there's a D.Va and you can just avoid it very, very easily, it typically does not find the value. But Nico able to make the play and able to win the fight for his team.
Yeah, they're going to be engaging quickly with the Blizzard, but it looks like they used the speed boost and Sound Barrier to sustain. The counter Blizzard getting used in the high noon, making sure to shut down Haro before anything. That wall managing to save out the enemy team's Mei, but the D.Va Bomb securing that anyone trying to escape will not have a chance of recontesting. The only person left is Glimmers, and they're having to slow walk, and unfortunately this alleyway just isn't big enough for the both of us as we see them starting to boop around, but they get the touch. D.Va Bomb being placed onto the point, but looks like they're going to be able to block it. No, they angle it! They get the reman kill as well onto the Lucio! Now the Reinhardt's being able to run back. The Immortality just barely sustaining them, but without the majority of their DPS coming from their Korean Mei, they've just lost it! Oh, they got a bit too cocky!
Sivio, there's no way! Oh, that was so sad. So what happened there is Nico thought he was blocking it, and he turned his shield just enough so that Darky would get killed by the D.Va Bomb, and then the D.Va, who was just in the back line, who everyone just assumed would die, got the remech kill onto the Mei. That is just a very, very strange play, but hey, you know, whatever works. I don't think Curious Cats is going to complain about a fight win like that, and now they will be rolling into this third point here with this map window.
Yeah, they're going to be using it to force the LOS. They take more space. They may have less time, but they just want a chance to have more fights. using that window, the sound barrier. They're just going to ignore it. The Shatter gets invested, managing to find out that Lucio, but the Immortality is going to be able to keep them up. Looks like Lem's going to be using the high noon, but the Maywa managing to block it out, trying to walk around, but the payload stops the rotation. So unfortunate. Now we see this kind of messy fight as both of these teams are just looking for any type of advantage. The Blizzard gets used in the high noon. Same from both of Hexen, not being able to find much, but they managed to freeze out the May. Now they've lost one. Nico does go down, so they've lost that ability, but the shield is already broken from Haru and just not able to back out fast enough. They still have 30 seconds and a possible chance for a recontest, but it looks like they want to make sure they get any type of staggers, and they shut down everyone that was left in the back line.
Zenpai and Sivio just going for the reset there. Don't want to give Fiora the satisfaction of getting kills with that Diva Bomb. And now Curious Cat's going to be going into here. This will be the last fight of the map here. They have a Blizzard, but Halo's got that sound barrier to answer. So it's going to have to come down to what these teams do afterwards, after those ults are traded out. I think if I'm the value.
Wait, with the roll! Glimmer rolls accidentally into the pit after the boop. The sound barrier is sustained. Same with the Shatter. That Diva Bomb gets used on the high ground, but they're able to finally block it. Not going to risk anything. And that's just a moment of both unfortunality and careful planning from the side of Hexen as they stop this payload from reaching anywhere close to the end.
Halo there with a really nice spot on the boop. Almost finds two, and I'll give him the assist on that that suicide kill there from the McCree. I'm not really sure what happened there. If I had to guess, it was like a buffer of some kind, where he was in the air and pressed roll, and by the time he had changed, or by the time he had landed, he had changed direction, was actually going back to the right, so he rolled to the right accidentally. But that's just such an unfortunate way to lose the last fight there, to roll off the map. Oh, that's not what you want to see as Curious Cats there, not at all.
No, that's something that the coach will bring up during VOD review and have to carefully ask, so why did you do that? But
what was your thought process here?
Yeah,
what were you trying to counter from the enemy team with this roll off the map?
Yeah, do you think this benefited the fight? What could you have done differently?
What could you have done differently?
Yeah. But either way, Hexen have been winning a lot more of these fights out of careful planning and understanding engagement strategies. Both of these teams are coming back running onto the same composition, so it's basically going to be the same fight. What do Curious Cats have to do to kind of adapt against it?
I think they will have a little bit more comfort here on the defense. I do think a lot of their issues came from just like they weren't really sure how to deal with Hexen's rotations on their attack. But when you're on defense, your rotations are much more planned out and strategic because they're kind of set strategies, right? When the enemy does this, you rotate here. When the enemy does this, you rotate there. So I think Curious Cats will be able to stabilize here if they're able to get a few fights here on this first one.
It looks like they want to try and block out or at least ignore as much damage as possible. They're going to be going all the way to the right side, which, I mean, it's a longer rotation than I expected, going straight to the shrine. The Curious Cats are ready to meet them up. Nico, the moment that they go up, the wall goes up, shuts them down. They've already lost two during this fight, not being able to even it up. It looks like the long rotation really didn't benefit them there.
Yeah, it was a lot of build-up for not a lot of payoff there. Good wall from Emery prevents the eye field from getting value. And Curious Cat's the very clean fight win. This is what I was talking about. You know, now that they don't have to deal with such strangeness, they seem to be okay. They seem to be dealing with Hexen just fine.
It looks like they want to do it again, interestingly enough. Don't know what their plan is, as they seem to want to take the back alley rotation. This gives them a lot of ability to just take pot shots and build up ult charge. Using the speed boost, the May does fall, and the Fire Strike takes out the McCree. That's actually not what you want. That Cree's supposed to be on the high ground.
Yeah, they really want that hit scan there up on the high ground, just ploinking in shots from a high angle, but now they've got to wait for him to respawn, and how they take this fight is going to be crucial here. They're going to have Darky on this off angle, but they're going to need to find a way to make the most of it. The off angles aren't that useful in Brawl, so we'll have to see how it goes.
The drop already coming out. Nico gets saved by the Immortality. The wall doing so much. Looking just to charge someone, but the freeze comes on. Shuts that down. That window being used. Hopefully just trying to even it up, but looks like Shatter's not going to be able to stay alive for much longer. The 2K high noon evening it up. No stun being able to shut it down fast enough. And it looks like Curious Cats had to burn through about 2 ultimate, but I'd say that was a pretty fair amount of ability. And Hexen haven't even been able to build up one truly good ultimate besides from that window.
Yeah, and what we're seeing right now is just that Hexen's kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Why are they taking such long rotations? Like, you're a Brawl composition. Just go Brawl. There's no need for all this fancy work. And I think they're going to have figured that out now. Looks like they're going for a much more standard rotation here.
Yep, but they have this Blizzard now built online. Same with MRI. They're having the chance. Look at that Shatter coming out, managing to hit a bunch of people. But the Sound Bear is going to be able to...
Blizzard.
Yeah, the Blizzard's massive, but the Diva Bomb's there to sustain the 2K. Manages to even it up. Same as Sabado is able to just continue living. There's a Kree and Lucio still on to this point, and they're going to be able to focus out this Diva. Still bringing their chances to live. There is going to be no chance of a stall coming into this fight. Even with this Kree out, we see Darky just being able to stun, and this baby Diva's going to be shut down before anything. That time bank is just gonna, I guess, not help them in the long run, though. As we see a recontest, they want to try and win this out as fast as they can. The counter shatter coming out, looking to just do anything but the freeze, and Hara is just dangerously low as Nico is able to find out MR with a charge, forcing everyone out. That they did waste more of a time bank and ultimates, but they still had to invest a bit of their own, and now they'll be taking bad spawns when it comes to this next area.
Yeah, and that's actually going to really prevent... Curious Cats now cannot hold by this bookstore. They're going to have to hold farther back in Streets phase, and it looks like Hexen knows that they're pushed up all the way here to the second point, leaving their Diva on cart, which is the correct character to leave on cart. Very good, Hexen. Love to see it. And now we're going to have to see what Hexen can do here with this window. They're being forced to give up a little bit of space, but it shouldn't be too much. They have the window to use here. Should pop it like any moment now.
Yep, in a couple seconds or so. Hey, you know, they wanna wait. They wanna put on a good show for the viewers at home because the payloads now reach the corner. They're gonna be popping out that window, but it's really far up. They're gonna be using the Maywa to block it out. There's no incoming damage. They ignore it, go straight through it, and now they're looking for some type of advantage. We see them now take this poke, the counter window coming from Slab King. Same with the High Noon being used from Darky. They're trying to LOS it as much as they can, but it looks like Darky's gonna be shut down. The Shatter making some room. Nico being able to start walking in and putting in the pressure as they manage to shut down Nico. Never mind, Haru's still alive, still being able to sustain on the team. The Sound Barrier goes out for Hexen, but the team is already gone, so there's no point in even trying to fully commit to this fight. Now they're just wanting to back out, but we might see a couple staggers coming in, and this is what you see from Hexen. This is what makes out Curious Cats. They have an amazing job of peel and rotate and adaptability, but Hexen just have amazing rotations.
Nah, this fight's like still going on. There's no reset here. They're still fighting this.
Yeah, the immortality comes out, but the wall blocks it. Oh, how unfortunate. That Diva Bomb looking to even it up, but they managed to get the remake kill onto Slab Kings, even it up by getting out Nico and just finishing off everyone. Who needs a main tank to secure a fight?
That was a very, very weird fight for a couple of reasons. Let's start off with the most promising one. Hexen there just gave away space. They pushed up to the right location. They had the wall, like the window, to really punish them. But instead of being proactive and using the ability, even though it was a 5v6, they instead just gave up a lot of space, and that allowed Curious Cats to stabilize very easily, and they were able to get a very clean fight off.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing that Diva Bomb come out, but they're going to be throwing the Blizzard to stop anyone from pressing W. Look at that, already managing to find out the Lucio. Now the Diva's not being able to survive for any longer. Pharaoh's being able to find the May, while everyone's stuck inside of the cafe library, but they are still being initially poked. Slab King goes down, and everyone else is just being melted. And they have not had the ability to truly invest their ultimate. I guess, milliseconds are framed slower than Curious Cats.
Yeah, and there, Fiora with a very interesting play goes for the Diva Bomb, even though the enemy has Blizzard. That must have been a botched ult track, because you definitely do not want to use your mech as a bomb when you need to eat something. And now Hexen's going into this fight with 4 ultimates, but given the way they've been able to use them so far, I don't have high hopes for how they're going to get this one done.
You look at that Blizzard gets used, manages to find out the Reinhardt just barely into the corner. Darky's going to be punished for trying to find some value in that, and the Shatter making sure to even things up by looking for everyone else. But the Immortality is managing to sustain. Same with the May, playing at an interesting angle. Nick is going to go down, but they only have 10 seconds on the clock to make a miracle happen. Unfortunately, it looks like Hexen aren't going to be able to do much. I'm going to say those extra long, amazing rotations at the start of the match kind of messed them up, and even Darky's not going to be able to do much with that High Noon. As we see Curious Cats take over Kings Row.
Yeah, Curious Cats with an excellent stabilization there on second point are able to bring this one back, and I gotta be honest, I think Hexen's kicking themselves in the foot, because they had this one, they had the momentum, they had the right strategies, and then they just made a couple of bad decisions, and all of a sudden the momentum was clearly back in favor of the Curious Cats, and now they've evened up the series at 1-1 on Kings Row, and that's you know, they'll be wanting some of that time back. You're right. Those extra long rotations at the start of the match, definitely gonna be regretting those as they sit in the Discord call with each other now.
I mean, if you ask me, I'd say the real shot in the foot was that Hexen let that diva live for so long. Did you see how much value Saab got just staying alive using diva mechs? Got remake kills so many times, and it was just vastly impressive.
Yeah, no, those remake kills are definitely something that Overwatch has now. Not exactly happy about it, but the devs have their vision for the game. I've got my vision for the game. I don't work at Blizzard, so my vision doesn't matter. That's how it goes sometimes. But yeah, those remake kills coming in very clutch, even when they reasonably shouldn't have. Civio seems to be able to find the magic with that diva now.
We live a struggling life. But look at these comparisons coming from both of the Baptiste, same exact time, but Slab King doing so much more than Zenpai. You got to be a little impressive. Look at this, being able to survive about 5 more deaths at a time, peeling in a bit more damage. But look at that healing. I feel like that's a massive difference when it comes to these fights.
What I want to highlight actually is the damage done. Both numbers are very low for each Baptiste, but Slav King just has a little bit more. And Baptiste is a character where if you're not doing the damage, you're not getting the full value out of that character. The rotation of his primary and secondary fire is 2 primaries, 1 secondary, which means you're actually shooting your primary more than you're shooting your secondary, which is your healing. And so the healing numbers are impressive, but I do want to see both those guys get their damage numbers up as well. You could really help your Ryan whittle down shields. You can finish off targets. The Baptiste damage is actually quite a bit. So, definitely want to be up with those numbers as much as possible. But the healing numbers are very, very impressive. I will give each of them that.
Yep, that'll be something their coaches will have to discuss when it comes to scrim FODs. But this match is far from over as we're tied 1-1. Make sure to tune back in as we're going to be going through a brief break in this match. Stay tuned as we'll see. Welcome back, everyone, as we are here with the Hexen versus Carry Cats match. Once again, I am your play-by-play caster, username _intel here, joined by Misfit. As we come back from the break, Misfit, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. We've got a good one in store for us, as we saw from that last map. Both these teams performing very, very well so far. And now we're going to be getting into Junkertown. So we're going to have to be seeing a very different look for both of these teams. Junkertown, a very open map, kind of lends itself to more snipers. Some Zen can be played here and there. I'm going to be curious to see what each of these teams pulls out. We could see some pirate ship. We could see some double shield. Frankly, anything's fair game here. But Brawl isn't, so it's going to be different than the last map.
Oh, but still, I am so excited. I love Junkertown. This map has varying results when it comes to the community. But the thing I love about Junkertown, at least being a caster and being in production, is that there is a lot of opportunities for big hero play moments. You often can see a Widow just playing different angles and, making sure that they just shoot someone. Sometimes they pull a Kefri angle. Who knows? Reinhardt's and Orissa's being able to get pulls and combinations. It's just so many possibilities. It's almost like Lijiang Tower, but different.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. There's a lot of variation that we can see here. Personally, as a flex sport, I love the fact that Zen gets played a lot here. Zen, of course, being the best hero in the game, hands down, with Ana being a close second. Very, very interesting character, and I love seeing him get played. So I'm going to be excited to see if each of these teams decides to pull him out here. Definitely a possibility. As we've mentioned, a lot of open space, a lot of long sight lines, which Zen's pretty good at. That Discord orb, very, very powerful at focusing a target. Make it easy for your DPS to whittle down a tank or something. Or it can scare a DPS and make them a little bit afraid to peek, which can be good when you're facing snipers. So going to be curious to see if that gets played here.
Yeah, more or less as well. This was Hexen's map choice. I feel like they're most likely going to be running out on some form of dive. They looked very comfortable and very good on it when it came to back on Lijiang Tower. And I feel that's probably their most standard or most familiar composition.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. What I found interesting, though, is in their team card, they've actually put down mostly Brawl characters as their favorite characters. So I was a little confused when they decided to go to Junkertown, because I was like, this is not what you said you liked. But okay, I'm here for it. I'm here to see what they've got for us. Darky looking pretty good on that Kree. Maybe he's got a very good Widow or Hanzo or something there in the back pocket. Going to be curious to see what they pull out here against Curious Cats.
Man, I love it. It's just, hey, we love brawl characters, but watch us go to a non-brawl map, all right? But either way, we're going to be going into this map, and I'm genuinely excited. My money is going to be most likely double shield, and then, or just a hog ball composition where they want to hold very close, and then the attacking side just runs Bastion.
Yeah, no, definitely going to see some weird things here. It's possible, I will mention, that Hexen decided that they don't want to try to win a Brawl v Brawl against Curious Cats, so they decided to go to a map where Brawl isn't a factor. That could be their thought process. I would say no. I thought it was pretty close in the Brawl mirror, but it's definitely a possibility, and now we will see Hexen come out here. On a bit of an interesting composition, they will be running a Ball D.Va dive composition with Tracer and Widow, and they'll have Ana Brig, which is a little strange to me. Brig, not a lot of uptime, especially with the composition they're going to be going up against. You kind of really can't do anything unless you get engaged on. You can throw armor packs and stuff, but you can't proc Inspire against an enemy dive composition very easily, unless you get engaged on, excuse me. I do think this Mercy and this Zen from Curious Cats will have much more uptime and will just get generally more value than the supports on the side of Hexen, who are much more defensive.
Yeah, Shatter gets caught out, or at least wants to disengage from the position they were in. They took a very aggressive standing, but they are just carefully waiting. That Sigma's going to be doing a lot more than they expect. That shield does so much compared to a D.Va just sitting there and helping the dives, as we see that slam go on top of the bridge, but Nikas has to back out. Those Discords do so much damage, especially over time, that the entirety of this fight is just going to be mostly poke until the first initial damage, until the first initial kill comes in. Glimmer is just staying so far back from the fight, as well with the damage boost, that they have managed to pull out so much ability. We see the looking for the shot, but it seems Amari's just going to be shut down. The slam goes down, looking to just find out that Sigma, but they're still kind of in this slow poke phase. The Echo still gets traded out, not being able to play as fast or do as much as they want, but the payloads move into a now more familiar spot. We see them manage to take out Zenpai. Now they have nothing to worry about. They can start putting on as much pressure as they want onto the Sigma. We do see Darky does go down, but Sabo does look like they give up, and they're going to be giving the point over to Hexen.
I'm not really sure what Curious Cat's strategy here is. The ball is very difficult to run without a Tracer. You kind of need that second man in to really get the value out of those slams. With just an Echo and an Ashe, it's going to be very hard. So Haro's really going to have a difficult time, and we see him having a very difficult time really finding value out of this ball right now.
Look at that already. Finds the Zenyatta alone. There's no PO coming out. Mari's going to be shot down from the sky by this Widowmaker popping the site. Looking for any target. The assassination still going out, playing so patiently and so carefully that Baby D.Va's going to be looking to just do anything and try to get the remake, but looks like they're going to be unable to. The Echo Ashe 1v1. I mean, the Ashe Widow 1v1's going out, but looks like they're going to be giving up the D.Va, making sure to put pressure onto this Mercy. Just not going to be able to escape. Darky's doing an amazing job on following up and securing out these picks just like any Tracer should do, and this is why they look so much more confident onto these kind of dive compositions.
Yeah, and Zimmer here is going to give up the Bobble charge and just opt for the Widow duel, which I don't really blame him for. I don't think the Ashe was getting a ton of value there, even with the Mercy pocket. We also see the support line swap over to Ana Brig off that Mercy's end. So they're trying to mirror a lot harder now.
Yeah, Darky gets Nada. We see the mines go onto the point, but Darky is just trying to start melting the support lines in the back. He's going to be walking into the mines, has to back out, gets whip shot, is unable to escape. Looks like those chains were massive. The copy goes onto the Brig. This is my nightmare, and Shatter still manages to win the Widow 1v1. Not even caring that there's just a Brig on them. It's still going to be shut down by Zenpai. Now the rally from the dupe is going to be able to armor them up. Curious Cats are going to be able to capture this point. Looks like all they needed was Glimmer just to take more angles. Unfortunately, the Ashe just isn't able to do much, especially with Dynamite. The mines go onto point, trying to stall this out. Same with the boots. They're looking to find a target to be able to win this, as they're just kind of stalling. It's somewhat Darky's going down dangerously low, but the Widow able to get the body shot, managing to shut them down. Glimmer is very uncontested. Now they find out Nico's looking for the high ground. He's going to be able to shut down Shatter, getting the revenge back onto this fight. The Ana and D.Va still there, looking just to survive, but they're going to be gone, barely managing to bring this to half of a minute, and now they have about 3 or so just to look for an advantage.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty good fight there from Curious Cats. I thought Shatter did hit a nice shot onto Zimmer there, but unfortunately it's not going to be quite enough. for Hexen to hold there. Curious Cats just a little bit too good on their re-engage there. And now we're going to see, this is kind of just evolving into whose Widow can find more space, because whichever Widow has the more dominant space just like makes their team's job much easier for their engages, because they don't have to worry about certain sidelines because their Widow has the advantage.
And Nico's already out of the fight, just has to play a bit more back. That Nana boost going back onto somebody if they're just continuously going to pressure in. Haru just looking for some type of advantage, but that Brig's doing an amazing job of making sure they stay back from their team. However, Haru does have the mines, going to be trying to go up, loses the momentum halfway. That D.Va's the one contesting the point, so they use mines. Force you gone. The ball's in the back. Shatter being able to find out that Brig. Not going to be able to defend anyone. Now, if I do say so myself, now they're looking for this messy fight. MRI going to be able to get that copy onto the D.Va. That's really good. Going to be able to build up the bomb. But that Brig is making sure to contest them, having to put pressure back onto the Ana. Looks like the anti-grenade and bombs are going out. They're just looking to find anything. That Widow just being pressured out so much. The remake kill not being able to be secured on. It's just going to be switching back. Now it's just kind of a messy fight as we see them just being able to melt out Shatter. How unfortunately enough. And the Ana just being pressured out. But has security from the Brig. Now we see a D.Va 1v1 onto this point to be forcing them out. But the remake is going to be able to sustain them. However, MRI uses the Sticky's mansion to shut down Fabria. Slab King does trade out with MR. But those mines manage to pull out a majority of the damage and onto the Haru. We see Nico also get out glimmered with the mines, being able to get 2. Interestingly enough, does nobody see the giant balls inside the point? And now we see Slap King being pressured out, but the Sleep Dart's going to be able to sustain them for a bit longer, but a little bit of damage manages to wake them up. Slap King not being able to survive for too long, but they do get the D-Meg. This fight still somewhat in Curious Cat's favor as they re-dive going back in, just managing to eat up as much damage as possible. Haru's coming close up to another mine. The slam missing on side of the Nico's point, but the pulse bomb being able to find out MRI. The Nano is going on, so Haru is just putting more pressure back onto that point. Glimmer just looking for an angle to be able, but this ball is doing so much by just annoying them. They can't take their eyes off of Nico, but we see them continuing back to the fight as the mines are being split onto the point, just forcing anyone. And as Nico tries to re-engage, he's going to be taking a bunch of damage. D.Va now D-Max, unfortunately enough, and we lose Shatter. The 300 damage, the 200 damage per second does so much. The answer grenade hitting onto that Break, going to be evening it up, but the rally goes on. It's going to allow them to start walking out, but they still need to be careful from those Widow headshots. Glimmer has free line of sight and manages to shut down that rally so quick. But the Ana's now having to forcefully touch, but Glimmer just had so much of an angle, being able to focus out the remake going straight onto Nico. The Tracer being booped out as the spin to win. And while Shatter may be able to even may get Glimmers, there is no way for them to kind of win it out. However, they do win it when it comes to the recontest, as they just forced out that time bank by so long. It's almost as if they've been struggling to fight.
Yeah, I mean, this entire map has just been like very scrappy. Like, there are no clean engagements from either side. They're kind of just relying off of like raw mechanics and hoping to get kills here and there. Both supports are doing very good jobs for both sides, keeping people alive. But no one's really able to find very clean fight wins so far in this match. It's just been it's been scrappy fight after scrappy fight.
We see those mines coming out. Manages to find MRI, has the copy, not going to be able to use it during this fight. Looks like everyone else wants to play a bit more carefully, but Shatter's able to find out Zenpai through those careful angles, but Shatter goes down themselves, how unfortunately enough. But we do see them taking the angles. We don't see a Widow coming out of Glimmers anymore, switching onto the Tracers, going to be able to dive a lot more, and Shatter wants to switch onto the Kree. There's less of sight lines and more of an issue of fighting directly on point, and already just having to back out. Faro just wanted to build up that D.Va bomb.
Yeah, no, and we do see a very clean fight there with help of the Widow, but we're right back into the scrap now with ults coming out from both sides.
The copy gets slept, the mines are on point. Nikos gets anti not being able to survive, while everyone else just has to back up and retreat. Slap King not being able to do much themselves as they just have to retreat. They're going to be coming back with a Pulse Bomb and D.Va Bomb, so there's a chance. However, we are going into overtime. Curious Cats have to make something happen, being able to find out that Tracer. Fight still somewhat continuing as nobody really wants to commit onto the point, but that D.Va Bomb being thrown out by Saab, looking for one target, unable to find, but the counter bomb now going in place perfectly, throws them in the air and gets 3. You knew it was coming, and they're still unable to dodge it. How unfortunate. Looks like Curious Cats aren't gonna be able to have them to kind of fully out. Maybe a curse or something. They're just unable to cap all 3 points.
Yeah, no, they do push it quite a ways, though, and given how scrappy this is going, I almost feel as though most of the scrap is going the way of, like, Curious Cats right now, but they just aren't able to win out as cleanly as they'd like to because they're on the attack and they have to deal with stalls. So I think on the defense, I will say that I think Curious Cats will be in a better spot now. But we'll have to see how it plays. Maybe Hexen will run a different composition. Maybe they'll be cleaner on their attack than they were, or cleaner on their attack than they were on their defense. Excuse me. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes.
Well, I definitely want to see when it comes to Hexen a bit more of a cleanup. They're relying a lot when it comes to their DPS, just trying to focus people out. Glimmers is just being able to ignore Nikos for like half the time and still get much value, while Darky's just doing the best to follow up on any damage. But if the teams aren't focused and doing as best as they can, there's nothing they can do. And sure, they're being able to stall this out really far, but that's kind of the entire point of your composition. It does it automatically. Curious Cats are going to be running out on this pure dive composition, and you might be shut down because you're not peeling for anyone.
Some possibility. I really, really don't like this defense count from Curious Cats. It's like, it's just not good. Like, they're going to try to play very, very fast, very, very quickly, but they just, like, they're going to get poked down from a bunch of different angles, and they won't be able to get a clean engagement on any target.
It feels so uncomfortable. Glimmer's already being poked out, though, by that monkey. It's, and the monkey just having to peel out. Looks like they're able to find out Slab King, and that's just a bit of an unfortunate start. Glimmers having that Widow 1v1, but is not able to win it out. Shatter's being able to get it. Haru does find Darky out inside the backline, interestingly enough. The D.Va being able to just kind of put pressure, but having to back up immediately. The Brig doing an amazing job of taking pressure and focus. But that Reaper, they seem more intimidated than you really should. Now that bubble goes on to the point, and the monkey's going to continuously start walking out. They just speed pass, ignore the D.Va, go for the weak link inside the back. Look at the ball, just trying to do their best with this body block. There's not much you can do against a Reaper just continuously hitting mouse one inside your enemy team.
And now, like, Curious Cats there with a pretty decent fight win, but wow, Hexen's actually gonna match. Wow, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we're actually gonna have a brawl mirror on Junkertown. Not what I thought I would see today. I'm not against it. I just think it's very weird.
I mean, it works against this dive composition. Haru already has to pop up the Primal. Glimmer getting the free angle is going to be able to shoot out one. And Mariah managing to find out Slab King. That Lucio not being able to do more. Nico's dangerously low. Going to be killed by the skill orb. And that's just an unfortunate situation. They had a good start, but not a good finish.
I do actually want to make a slight clarification. Even though they have a Winston on Curious Cats, what they're running is actually a brawl composition. You'll notice Haru will not really engage with that jump as much as he wants to. They'll pretty much just speed in. Okay, I guess he will engage with the jump.
Hey, it doesn't really matter when you have survivability. Just already backing up that D.Va Bomb gets placed, gives Haru some room to just walk back in, but they're dangerously low. And now the payload's going to be able to start moving. We see Ultimate's MRI has that Death Blossom. The Sound Barrier is being used, just allowing them to in. Comes from the high ground, gets stunned out. They shade with that Lucio, but the Reaper there is going to be able to find out the counterpart Shatter not being able to do much. I really thought that they weren't, that Hexen had it, but it looks like they're forcefully having to move back. Curious Cats using this dive standard composition, just more a brawl, and it's working out in their favor.
Well, yeah, they basically what they're doing right now is Haru's jumping in, and then they just amp speed, which is not how you're supposed to run this comp, but I mean, it's working for them, and if it's not broken, don't fix it, am I right?
Yeah, what a beautiful bubble. The Immortality has to go out. The counter D.Va Bomb finds two, and the Shatter just looking to combo it, but Glimmer's able to find out that D.Va, so they're not going to be having anyone to eat any abilities. Using that Sound Barrier just to save out Nico's. Glimmer needs to back out, has to take up that space. Darky being able to find out the Lucio, forcing them back. They still have a recontest, but they want to try to find any staggers on Curious Cats as possible. Look at that. Oh, right. No, they find Nikos! You went too far in! You've lost the ability! The D.Va's not even D-Max, going to be able to continuously start walking out. The Primal Rage managing to secure off that McCree. Now you're less than a minute and you've lost your tank. You have no ultimates. You just have to stack them up and wait for the next turn.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see how they use this. They're probably going to try to use Slab King's window to prevent a hard engage or to sustain through an engage. and then they'll recontest. Oh, that's a huge pick, actually. No speed boost is really going to hurt Hexen here.
I mean, sure, they get that window off. They find Haru with it, who just underestimated the amount of damage a Reaper can do when it comes to these fights. So at least they have that. But now it's Death Blossom versus Death Blossom. They kill off the Kree, who had High Noon. And that's just the worst scenario type possible. The Coalescence gets used. They're going to be able to start walking out. They're just trying to put pressure. They were able to find out Slab King with the Death Blossom. That's as best as you can get. They're waiting too long to use their abilities, and it looks like Hexen's just not going to be able to do much. They just have to back out, and they're going to be full held on Junkertown. So close yet so far. Hexen making very simple mistakes that give Curious Cats the advantage in every scenario.
Zimmer's crazy. That's all that's the takeaway from that map. Zimmer there with 2 extremely big picks. One onto the Lucio, which takes away the speed boost for the Brawl composition, and then another onto the Baptiste, the Kree. I think you get Baptiste a little bit later. But yeah, the High Noon and Kree. I guess he didn't use High Noon, but has High Noon, got the Kree. Words are hard. That's what I'm trying to say here. 2 very, very high impact picks in that last fight. Gonna secure the map win for Curious Cats.
Ooh, I gotta say, I am somewhat a bit worried for Hexen. They've been looking a lot more sloppy, while Curious Cats have definitely been moving inside and getting their momentum, especially because the next map is Assault, and it's going to be Hanamura. Hanamura is one of those maps where you need focus, and you need to make sure that you do your best to stop the team from slowing down. And Hexen have been doing an amazing job of stalling, which, I mean, that could be an advantage on second point, but I'm more worried on their ability to secure these team fights.
Yeah, no, I would say there is some truth to that. Hexen is definitely struggling to secure some fight wins. I will say this, I don't think it's completely out of the woods for them, right? Curious Cats has clearly made the adjustments from map 1, has won the last 2 maps, but I definitely think that Hexen can bring this one back. They are so close on a lot of these fights. They're just not able to secure a lot of them. Curious Cats just seems to have the bite that Hexen is lacking right now.
I definitely see what you mean, but let's look at these Widow comparisons on side of Junkertown. Both of these Widows were doing an amazing job, but Glimmers just had a lot more value. Sure, the weapon accuracy may look a bit kind of misleading, but 15 final blows compared to Shatter 7. That means Glimmer was taking angles and was not being, well, pressured enough. They didn't care, while Shatter was just forced to play in unfavorable angles.
Yeah, and another thing I want to highlight here is the scoped critical hit. Actually, both of them hitting comparable amounts of shots, but Shatter's leaning more towards I'm the body shot bandit, and Zimmer's leaning more towards I'm carrying these fights, with that massive difference in the scoped critical hit accuracy, 11 to 32%. Like, that just Zimmer is really, really taking it to Hexen right now.
Ooh, I'm worrying if we were wrong at the start. Hexens were the ones to win control, but now their momentum is slowing down. I'm more worried they can make sure to win it out. But Hanamura is one of those maps where even if you don't have a lot of momentum, you can easily bring it back as long as you just play to your strengths. And more importantly than enough, you remember your coaching.
Yes, very, very true. Hanamura, I will say, is probably my favorite of the 2CP. 2CB, obviously, not a very good game type. There's a reason 2 of the maps have been banned for about a year now, that being Paris and Horizon the Recality. It's just because it's not that great of a game mode, and it's very, very hard to design maps for, because they're just, no matter how good the maps are, it's hard to make them enjoyable because of the way the game mode works. You get into those late point B stalls, and even though you've won the initial fight, because the defenders are stalling long enough, they find a way to make it work, and they somehow pull out a defense in a fight that you've won, and you get no ticks, and it's just really sad. But Hanamura breaks that mold, I think. I think Hanamura is a very, very interesting map. I think it's much harder to win stalls on Hanamura than it is for most of the 2CPs because of how, like, linear the spawns are. Like, you can see the enemies coming out of spawn very, very clearly. And so it's pretty easy to actually stop them if you do win an initial engagement on point. So yeah, I'm very excited to see Hanamura here. It's a beautiful map, definitely one of my favorite, even though it is 2CP. So I'll be excited to see which each of these teams opts to run here. It's looking like it's going to be a brawl mirror. I'm going to be curious to see if Hexen decides to stay on the Sin comp. They will be our attackers here. The strategy, of course, being to teleport directly to point, but typically you want to run a Lucio with this so you can get to choke as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I'm very unconfident when it comes to any form of Symmetra on Hanamura because everybody knows the composition. Everybody knows where it goes. So when it comes out, they have to be pulling something different if they want any chance to run it out and make it work. So let's see. We won't see this in Overwatch 2. So this is the final time you'll be able to, that wall comes out, manages to split them up, but they're already on point, taking in that room. The Reinhardt goes too far into the back, has to use the immortality to save out Haru, but it looks like they're being able to sustain themselves, taking control of that point and just continuously moving in. They even go down dangerously low, but that Symmetra is so charged up that they have nothing to worry about. Sabado does have to back up, wanting to take that space, wanting to just kind of almost scared, allowing the team to get on point, just waiting to use that speed boost, building up on high charge. That Lucio's now inside their backline, and they're just not being able to start fully committing into these fights. Sabado go down dangerously low while they build up, and Slap King uses that window. However, they trade out by finding a Yarn with the Shatter comes out, not being able to find much. The immortality now there, and it looks like that drawn long fight was not in favor for Curious Cats, as they're going to be losing this point. No, Glimmer's managing to find out too, but I don't think anyone else is alive. Sorry, it looked good, but not good enough.
Yeah, and Zimmer there with a couple of late kills. Unfortunately, not going to be enough to turn the fight, but will be enough to get him his high noon, which might be impactful as we get into this next point. Of course, that high ground, very effective. A window high noon from high ground is definitely not something Hexen's going to want to have to deal with here. But yeah, very, very good fight there from Hexen. Nice job by NiKo to block the shatter onto Haru, of course. All Ryan's look to shatter the window because of how many times they see Ryan's Fire Strike through it. Of course, Fire Strike is a guaranteed shatter for the enemy Reinhardt, so NiKo just playing that very, very effectively and helps his team win that right now.
Look at this, they use that Sim Wall so they can block all initial damage. They find out the Mei too, the immortality helps to sustain. Graviton Surge, putting them on top of the high ground. That charge is not going to be able to benefit them. Now that Blizzard's being used, being able to find Glimmers finds too, but they managed to find out Haru's using that sound barrier to secure and look to just kind of win this fight off. Just that initial push, they're already having to invest so much, they don't want to end up losing it. That sound barrier comes out, it's going to be able to save the Mei for a bit more longer, but that charge is going to come out. Haru returns back into the fight, going to be looking to build up that shatter for the upcoming. That window now being used. Thunder still finding value on top of that high ground. The Diva Bomb gets soloed, looking to just find, and then Bremek going to be looking just to get that 250 damage on towards someone. That window comes out, not being able to find much value, but it forces them back. Look at that. NiKo's able to find out the Lucio, and they're continuous to brawl in. The immortality managing to save out the Reinhardt, but now Haru has the shatter in the corner. He's going to be able to use it in a good second, but the Blizzard gets invested regardless, and now they just don't even care. Hexen have lost their chance to win this back. Unfortunately, that stall just works out in the end. What did I say? Curious Cats knowing what to do, especially when it comes to regrouping.
Yeah, and Zimmer here has just been nuts, you know. Again, finding a couple of picks there at a later stage of the fight where it looked like they were losing, but again, because it's 2CP, you know, you get those picks and all of a sudden, your team has a real chance to stall that out. And even though Hexen there with a very, very clean engagement, Zimmer is just able to bring the fight back for his team. An excellent job by this McCree player.
Oh, now they're going to be re-engaging. Hexen swapped over a couple of their DPSs back to traditional Brawl, so their ult economy is not going to be working the best. But now they're walking through this close sight line. They do block it off, and Glimmers, they're just waiting for the high noon to wear off, and looks like they just want to stay there. Wait, did the server crash? No, it's back! As we see the teams just continuously lagging, continue to go back into the fight. The Window's managing to find so much value. Nakus is not going to be able to survive, but they're just continuously going to be walking in, looking for that Mei. Everyone backing out. Hexen looking so unfortunate.
That was a very interesting little. I also did not notice that the server was lagging out there, so I was like, "Wow, you're really just gonna sit there, aren't you?" But no, it was just a little bit of internet issues on our end. It happens to the best of us, you know.
Truly thought Hexen was running some new LA Valiant strategy.
No, I think they'd rather win, actually.
Yeah, but now that wall's going to come out. They're already forcing Hexen to back off. That Graviton Surge gets hit onto the wall, so they're not able to eat it. The immortality being able to sustain them. NiKo once again goes down. The sound barrier coming out a tad bit too late. They're going to be able to just wait out. They looks like they don't really care about staggering the enemy team, but now they're walking out. They use the Maywall to make sure that Haru doesn't shatter, but it still looks like they are hungry to find anyone to just respawn 10 seconds later.
Haru wanted to shatter that so badly. I could feel it coming off of his essence, but he did not.
Yeah, that shatter come out. Same with the counter shatter. The sound barrier able to sustain them for longer. Shatter gets charged out. It's unfortunate, as well as Nico gets unfortunately dislodged. Tries to charge the Reinhardt, but gets booped into the room, and it's just not there to be able to help, and they just win that fight. And this is not looking great. Hexen not being able to get through this choke point. So much pressure coming out of Curious Cats. Ultimates or not, they're doing an amazing job of winning these picks.
Yeah, Curious Cat's doing an excellent job of holding this choke here and really not letting Hexen get any foothold. If I were Hexen, I would honestly just probably go main at this point and just speed to point and force point, because the high ground's not that effective if you can...
yeah, but look, they eat the Blizzard. That's massive. They use the window. Hexen now having the ability. They're pressuring people out. The high noon coming from Glimmers. Don't know where they are, but I'm guessing they are just forcing them to retreat. But this is the point where you don't even take the fight. Just go on high ground. You have high noon. You have the ability to take the advantage. That D.Va Bomb being thrown out because of the remake, but it's going to allow them to continue walking forward. The window gets used. We see Darky taking the high ground. It's going to be looking for the opportunity. Is still using that high noon, not being able to find one. The immortality saves them, and Haru just being able to shut people down. That window was there, and the fire strike did so much damage. Not even able to get a take, was just shot down the moment they started to try, and that's just unfortunate coming on to the side of Hexen.
Yeah, and Curious Cats here just, again, putting a phenomenal showing on for how to hold this choke point. And Hexen just feels lost. They don't really seem to know what to do. They're approaching 30 seconds. This is probably going to be their last fight here, and they have 0 ults to speak of. Luckily, their enemies don't either, except for a Graviton Surge and a Sound Barrier. So definitely not really where they want to be. And now with Darky Fall, and this is just looking like the final hour for Hexen here.
They don't have time for a re-engage. That wall misses, but they need to take it now. They have to rely on that sound barrier or build up that Blizzard fast. They look at that already putting pressure onto the point, but it seems they don't care. The Graviton Surge being used, managing to find out Nico before anything. That sound barrier now gets used, and they're just going to be able to have someone onto the point to be able to stop them from getting a tick, but they lose. The Blizzard now coming out. They want to try to finish off this fight, but Glimmer has the high noon, is stopping anyone from walking out. Gets managed to get Darky and Lucio going onto the point, not going to be able to survive for much longer. And look at that. They barely almost get a tick, but either way, Curious Cats did a phenomenal job just staying at that choke point. Don't even think they ever left it.
Yeah, I mean, there was no real need to. They just did an excellent job the entire time of holding that choke, and they're able to recover from what was a pretty sloppy first point to really have a dominant showing on second. So now the ball is in their court. All they need to do to take this series is get a single tick onto point B, which, you know, definitely is a challenge, right? They still have to cap first point, but with the momentum so heavily in favor of Curious Cats right now, it's hard to see this going any other way.
And I think the big issue that's going to be coming on, especially when it comes to this defense, that the reason why Hexen were losing was just because they weren't cleaning out these fights. They weren't winning off of team kills. They were winning off of 1 or 2 picks and then initially losing it because the stall was just there. And when it comes to Curious Cats, I feel they're just going to save up their ultimates. They can just pop 6 at once and win because of it.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
All right, here we're going to be looking at these comps from both sides. Hexen's going off with a very interesting comp here that I actually think could work very, very well here. The way we're going to want to see them run this is we're going to want to see the Orisa kind of stay down near the main choke area, and you know, maybe with the Junkrat as well. And then we're going to see that Ashe with the damage boost up on high ground with the Sigma, and they are just going to... We're actually okay. They're doing this in a diamond game. Wow.
Okay. Some people wake up and they choose violence, but they get value.
There's no way.
I can't believe it. They knew it was happening, and yet Shatter still gets away with it. I guess Hexen still have some opportunities to bring this into the game.
And he gets a very impactful pick there, too. That's the Lucio, and now they will be able to hit tab and know that they are running this Symmetra composition. Junkrat, of course, being very, very good at stopping that Symmetra comp just because of all his AoE damage.
Yeah, but I love how they take angles. However, they immediately want to go after that Baptiste. The Immortality comes out, but not fast enough. They still manage to trade in, looking to just pressure out this Junkrat, who's just freely living. But the res comes on to Slap King inside the background. That Sigma's being able to do so much, but they're taking angles. That's exactly how you want to play this double shield. Slap King's able to survive due to the Immortality, and everyone on Curious Cats just has to reset.
Yeah, I really like this comp here from Hexen. You see it again, like they're just taking so many different angles, and it makes it really hard for this Brawl composition of Curious Cats to deal with it. You know, Brawl doesn't want to have to look at different angles. They want to look at one area, and they want to run at it. And Hexen is just making it really hard for them to do that. They have the first ultimate. They have the Riptire online. I don't think Zenpai's window is going to be enough to really stop it. Get another little freeze here.
So a bit unfortunate, we do see them take a TP somewhere. The Riptide comes out, the Immortality being able to save them, but it looks like Shatter's getting so much value just walking into people and just playing Junkrat. That window still does a major amount of damage, but they don't turn around to Shatter, who once again is walking into the team and just pressing abilities. I don't, this is
that Jake Overwatch?
This is peak Junkrat gameplay right here.
Someone called the Houston Outlaws. They got a new signing. All jokes aside, though, very nice flank there from Shatter. The Riptire doesn't get the value, but he's like, yeah, I don't need it. Walks behind him, kills 4. You love to see it. Not if you're Curious Cats, though. You must be very disappointed to see it. And they're still on the Symmetra strategy. It's really strange to me that they're still forcing this. They're teleporting to the same area again. Like, the enemies are ready for it by now.
Yeah, but they managed to find out Shatter. Shatter just wasn't ready to rotate fast enough. They still lose Glimmers, who needs to be building up this wall. Look at that, they managed to find out Haru without that Symmetry there. They're putting no pressure onto anyone. Those shields mean nothing. Sabado going to be going down. They have to use the Valve window. And Bongo, which I don't feel is a very good use of your ult economy, especially when we're coming close to a kind of low fight territory.
Yeah, no, for sure. They definitely invested maybe a little bit too much there. But, you know, they still have 3 ults available, so probably isn't that that important for them yet. Maybe they just thought they could afford it. We'll have to see in the next fight whether or not they get punished for it. Fiora has this Sigma ult, and Darky's getting close to that Bob. Flux Bob, obviously a very, very traditional combo, and the Riptire is going to be online too. Curious Cats is going to have to use their ults more effectively. Their Blizzard's coming online. They're going to have to find the value here.
I don't get it. What type of script are they running? Going up, using the Immortality and Sound Barrier because the Gravitic Flux puts so much pressure, but now this Riptire is walking around looking to find someone. Finds 2! At this point, don't even invest. Just die and just go again. But they use the Shatter. It gets blocked by the wall. They use the Graviton Surge. Same with the window. We're hoping to get something out of this, but the Bob is there, and it's just going to be inside your backline, finding off 2. Oh my goodness, Curious Cats. I'm curious on what the heck you're doing.
I actually don't hate it now. Look at this ult economy. We've now got a complete flip on our heads here. Hexen has no ultimates, and Curious Cats is going to be able to split this point with that sim wall. They're going to be able to have a much easier engage now. Like I said, Hexen just wants to play a bunch of angles, and with that sim wall, you can block some of those angles, and then once there's a fight on point, you can blizzard it. So there's actually a real chance here for Curious Cats to make this work.
Yeah, but they take the same angle that Shatter was prepared. Shuts down the Symmetra before anything. The Blizzard comes out. Their Immortality saves them. My goodness, Hexen do an amazing job when it comes to compositions that do anything with splitting up the enemy team, and that's Curious Cat's biggest weakness because they're not even able to get a single tick onto Hanamura, and we'll be going in to the last map of control for this point.
You know, ult advantage is only a real advantage if you actually use your ults, and right there, Curious Cat showing us exactly what that means. Not using their ult, Shatter's able to find the value. It baffles me that they would go to the exact same place every single time with that Symmetra TP. Now, one of the benefits of the Symmetra TP is that you can just go anywhere, right? Like anywhere so quickly. There's multiple teleport spots, and they just continued to go to the same spot even though it wasn't working. Which, like, I guess, you know, I don't blame you, you know. If you're confident in your strategy, you're confident in your strategy, but it clearly wasn't working for them. I would have liked to see an adjustment from them, and it just didn't come, and Hexen just abused that, and now we'll be going into a map 5, which I'm sure Curious Cats was not looking forward to, and they definitely wanted to finish it out there, but yeah, we'll have to see how it goes when we come back from this break.
My goodness, do I hear a map 5 in my peripheral vision as Curious Cat's unable to capture a single tick onto Hanamura and Hexen, holding them so hard, and now we're going to map 5.
Yes, we are, and this is going to be a very interesting final map here. I believe our map is going to be Ilios, which should lend itself to even more shenanigans here, as it is very dissimilar to the other control map we saw. Lijiang lends itself to a lot of brawl. Ilios, not so much. There's not a lot of brawl maps. You can kind of run it on Lighthouse, but Double Bubble's kind of just better. We have seen both these teams run some sort of dive comp at some point throughout this game. So I am excited to see how each of these teams approaches this map. I'm very excited to see the end of what has been a very, very entertaining match.
I want to say fairly that it seems that it's not rather team differences, but rather it almost looks like these teams don't always scrim the matches that are in the map pool. It looked like they just struggled to kind of adapt or do anything around it. So when it comes to Ilios, this is probably a thing that people run a lot. I'm wondering how these teams, is it going to be a mirror of Hexen being able to closely bring it back or Curious Cat secure it? I feel either way, both of these teams need to go in and give it their all.
Yeah, no, that's definitely that's for sure. Both these teams are going to have to work very, very hard in order to take it over their opponent. Both these teams very evenly matched from what we've seen. They're better at different things, I would say, right? They're not evenly matched at certain things. And there have been areas in which another team has dominated, such as that full hold we just saw on Hanamura, which has put the momentum squarely in favor of Hexen. But, like we've also seen Curious Cats dominate on Junkertown. So it's not like both these teams are evenly matched at the same comps. They're kind of very good at different strategies.
Yep, it's more of a fact of rather Curious Cat's biggest weakness is following up on plans, or at least not getting poked. They have a lot of issues when it comes to any composition that manages to boop them around. We saw it on Lijiang. We saw it when it came to Hanamura. But now Hexen are running out onto the Ball Diva with the Pharah. This is basically what they ran on Lijiang Tower, and I'm very worried for Curious Cats.
Yeah, they definitely struggled against this composition before. Like I mentioned previously, the whole impact about it is that it's very survivable and there's no clear dive target. But they're running a much more fluid composition now with the Reaper and the Tracer. They're going to play this more like a brawl composition, so they'll probably be running at the Diva as much as they can, just trying to play to brawl as much as they want.
Look at this, already coming back into this fight. So much poke coming out of Shatter, and that's what you want to see coming from the Pharah. But they're still having Curious Cat's rotations, and they don't look to be happy about it. That slam coming out, looking to just find a single target. They get the Lucio. That Lucio's just been going down so often in most of these dive fights that it's so unfortunate. Glimmer's just trying to find some value, look for a bit of poke, but they are all so split. The Diva, look at that, Hexen also able to capture off the point, starting to demech that Diva. Shatter was dangerously low, has lost the Mercy, but now returning back to this fight. Curious Cat's not resetting just yet, looking like they want to stall this out for a bit longer, but they're basically being staggered one pick by one. That's 20 seconds gone from each of their time banks the longer they wait to die.
Yeah, and now we're remeching here, gonna get demeched again and probably staggered out. Like, what? Curious Cats are playing very undisciplined. Hexen there with a very, very nice very, very nice fight there. They're going to get 30% almost for free. Curious Cat's giving up that first point tick and then just staggering themselves. They will have this Coalescence, which maybe will be their answer to the Pharmacy, because they've got nothing else to take it out of the sky. But right now, Curious Cat's is looking a little bit worse for wear.
That barrage gets used, shuts down that Reaper. The Coalescence, the Diva not even able to do anything to save. Pulse Bomb manages to stick one person. I think it was a Diva. They go into the air, manages not to really get much value, but now the mines are built. They've still basically done so much by shutting down that Reaper, and now the mines are split. The bubble's gone, and the monkey is basically a monkey not being able to kind of look around this. I see them just able to boop off, and now they're forcing everyone on the side of Curious Cats not to even start building up ultimate charge.
Thanks for the assist.
Yeah, Hexen's just looking dominant here. Curious Cats needs to get off this composition. They don't have the answers in it that they need, and they're going to be looking to mirror somewhat. It looks like they're not going to have the ball. They're going to have a Winston instead. but they will be opting to try this Mercy Lucio composition with the Pharmacy.
You can't beat it, join it, and it looks like that Diva Bomb's not gonna allow them to join it. Also, Shattered gets a direct hit! Come on, they already lost the Mercy, but now we're going back to this fight. They're using that sound barrier. That bomb managed to go inside of the building. They managed to shut down Sabado before they can even remake. This is just rude. This is just mean because Hexen are looking so clean and getting the direct hits. They're stopping this far from even going back up to the point. They didn't have a moment to recontest the Mercy, just looking to heal out their team, but the boot going on to Haru and the direct hits managing to put so much damage to Zenpai. This is exactly what we talked about, the big issues, but I'm hoping Curious Cats have found an answer. That pulse bomb even gets eaten by the Diva last second, so the Lucio unfortunately doesn't touch, but my goodness, Hexen, I feel they didn't feel happy seeing that counter Pharah.
I think Shatter woke up today and he said, you know what? I want to be violent. I would like to really give it to whoever I'm facing in GGNA today. I want to make sure they hate playing against me, and I'm sure Curious Cats does right now, because this is the second map in a row where he has just been absolutely dominant on this on these projectile characters. It was the Junkrat last map, now he's onto the Pharah, and he is just looking so dominant right now for Hexen.
I'm sorry. You know, we have a bit of production in our ear and such, but I think I just heard that Shatter has over 20k damage per 10 minutes. And I think Pharah does a lot of damage, but that's insane!
That's a lot of damage per 10 minutes, if I do say so myself.
And now they're running the Pharah. It looks like we're going to be seeing an absolute mirror. These teams just trying to, you can't beat it, join it type of scenario. Shatter looking like they're taking already a brief amount of damage. The direct hits coming from Amari winning this Pharah duel. But the Mercy still alive, might be able to res this out if they ignore it for a tad bit too long. Slapking, not even wanting to risk it, having to just disengage from this fight, but it looks like they're able to finish off Zenpai. The Pharah is still alive, going to trade out to get Slap King. Now the points unlocked. The Divas, this is a very messy fight right now. Haru just taking control of this point. Wow, Nico's dangerously low, has to retreat. We see Shadow return back into the fight, but the control point goes to Curious Cats, and I don't know what Hexen can really do besides from regroup and take another fight.
Yeah, no, Curious Cats there with a very, very nice victory there. Emery winning the dogfight in the sky, and that's kind of going to be what we see here. I think it's going to, both these Pharahs are going to want to attack each other, and whoever wins the Pharah v Pharah is going to help their team secure the fight. I think that's going to be the story of this map.
Yeah, fairly even. We're seeing pressure go on to Empry as the Divas making sure to take out most or eat at least most of the damage. Now the pressure being put onto the Mercy, or it looks like Shatter's not going to be able to survive. We see the Diva Bomb being placed onto point, same with the mines, forces anyone off of it, as it finally seemed that Curious Cats have their answer. If they can't beat it, they'll just play it better.
Yeah, no, and what we're seeing right now is Emery's just like, look, man, I know you're a good Pharah, I know you've been destroying my team, but here's the thing, I'm better than you, and he has won the last two 1v1s in this guy. Can't really call it a 1v1 because the Divas are there helping out, but he's been the one who's been able to consistently find the kill onto the enemy Pharah, and that right now is what's winning these fights for Curious Cat, and it's getting them a lot of point presence. They've only won 2 fights, and yet they have 72% point.
Look at that, already going for the Mercy, but Imperi doesn't even care, just continues going after the Pharah. Now that Valk is going to sustain them for a very long time. Shatter just disengaging from this fight. He's looking to use the barrage over the barrage. Kind of funny, while the sound barrier gets used, they're going to be looking onto this point. The Pharah is still looking into the sky. Nobody's safe to use their abilities without worry of dying. That Diva Bomb comes out, being able to disengage and block out. Now we see Curious Cats onto this point. They want to be able to stall this out for as much as possible. While the Pharahs continue to fight into the air, they're going to be able to get the res onto Glimmer. But Amari goes down, and now the Mercy's not going to be able to res. There's so many people just guarding off that body. Senpai is going to have to just die right there. And Shatter just finally has the ability to use the free range of their ultimates. But I'd say you save it. No, choosing to use this, immediately going to be shut down. Glimmer and Sabio just trying to even it up, using the Diva Bomb's going to be able to find out Halo. And it looks like that over-aggressive ability just kind of didn't feed them in. Well, not really over-aggressive. The pulse bomb going out, mentioned with the remake killing the mines. And my goodness, we're bringing it down to wire 0 to 100%. It's basically just like before.
That is exactly what the doctor ordered if you're Curious Cats here. Not only do you find an answer to Hexen's weird composition, but you 99-0 them on their own composition. I guarantee you that Curious Cats has never scrimmed this composition. I'd be willing to bet your life on it, user intel. But they're running it very well right now. They clearly understand how it works based on how they've been watching their opponents go with it. And Emery right now is doing a phenomenal job keeping Shatter occupied, keeping Shatter off their teammates, and just forcing them to fight them in the sky and lose to them in the sky. So right now, Emery is the MVP for Curious Cats on this new weird composition they're running.
When it comes to this fight, it's who plays their composition better. And I don't know who's going to be able to do it, as we see the Pharah's in the sky. One hit going on to Amari, not being able to survive through it, has to back up, kind of go back to the team for a bit of peel, just going to start ignoring, putting a bit more damage onto the rest of the enemy team. Over those Pharah's in the sky, pulling out a lot. Darky just helping to poke down the Mercy. Heyo going down dangerously low, going to be able to just barely survive by rotating around. Mercy goes on to ground slap, just barely being able to survive. Glimmer being able to find out Nico inside, and it looks like this bro Shatter able to find out the far into the sky, and there's basically never going to be a res available, as they're just putting so much pressure onto the Mercy and covering those bodies. The direct hit finishes off Senpai, and that D.Va unable to do much. The only person left is going to be that Ball to be able to just do much while the point's captured, and while they have a significant amount of coverage on it, it looks like Hexen has the pure control over it. No spin to win going to be available here, as they just see Haro just looking to stall this out as much as they want. And I don't know how good that is. Summer using that pulse bomb, just looking to find someone. Yari, again, respect the remake. Come on. Pulse bomb able to find out the Tracer as well. We see the Mercy just trying to body block around. Amari finds out the 2. Emery finds out the 2, may be able to even it up, but Shatter says, no, I let you have that one. The res comes out, going to be able to get it just in time, but you've lost the Mercy at this point. Mind you, the point has not even captured. They're able to find out Shatter into the sky. Now the Fars are, now there's no one to contest Amar, and the slam goes down, looking to even it up. The Demon Bomb gets placed in for Curious Cats. Now has the remake, looking to use it to kill someone, unable to find it, but gets Hello. And we see them now through the very messy fight, looking to find any type of high ground. Now the Sound Barrier gets used on the side of Curious Cats, and we see the spin to win, looking to just find some form of advantage. The Mines gets used on the points, going to be stopping anyone from capturing. The Barrage gets used from Emery. They're going to be shut down by Shatter. Didn't even see them with Glimmer get trades in the end. Looks like Curious Cats has the advantage into this fight, finally getting a significant amount of the picks and closing it up. That was so long drawn, but I don't even know what to say.
That was an emotional roller coaster that I have not fully recovered from yet. All I have to say is congratulations to Curious Cats for winning that fight. I can't even analyze it. I mean, so many things just happened there. Ults were used, fights were won, fights were lost, friends were lost. It was just all over the place, but Curious Cats coming out on top now.
We see Darky also switch over to the Sombra. Demon Bomb gets thrown up into the air. They find Amari, and look at that. They managed to hack out the ball. They can't seem to win the disillusions. So what they're rather focusing on is just forcing the enemy team to not be able to play the game at all. Already putting pressure back onto Curious Cats' Pharah, but not being able to finish it out. They get that Lucio, but they trade in that D.Va. Look at that Hello being able to find out too, and Shatter managing to finish off the counter play. The point's still in favor, especially those Mines stopping anyone from touching the point. Now that Demon Bomb getting used, we see Slap King almost run into it, but the Pharah has to just touch it or any sense. The Sound Barrier gets used to try to sustain them. That hack making sure the ball can't go anywhere, and I think that's exactly what they needed, because now the only person left is a D.Va and Lucio, and they have the ability to start winning this now. But it looks like they're still being able to stall this out just perfectly. But look at that, the only person left is the Pharah. It's now over, the hack goes out, the Barrage gets used. I'm guessing they're just sick and tired of this stall, because look at that, Haru just returns back in without a care in the world. Hack goes out, EMP. That's an ultimate you don't want to invest or in this stall fight. There was not enough people to fully commit that. Sure, you hit Senpai and the Lucio, but they don't have any ultimates. You should be tracking and being prepared. And sure, they're being able to finish people out, but even with that, look at that, 87% one fight territory for Curious Cats.
The Barrage already was an overinvestment. He definitely did not want to have to use that to close out that fight. And then the EMP as well has set them back very heavily in their ult economy. They will have a Valkyrie, they will have these Mines. So they aren't like completely screwed, but they're definitely going to be wanting that one back if they end up losing this fight. If they lose a fight here, like, they could lose the map.
Yeah, but Curious Cats, look at that, they have 3 ultimates. Already the hack goes onto Haro, but they shut down that Pharah in the sky. Zenpai does have the Valk, could go for a risky res, but looks like they don't even want to. The Mind's being able to shut down Haro. Zenpai just having to die immediately. The hack goes out. At least they're being able to build up a bit more ult charge. Shatter is coming back up onto the barrage, and they have a Valk for the for any type of next upcoming fight. But the D.Va is still alive, some of them now being staggered out, and this is what you want to see from Hexen.
Yeah, now Hexen has the a little bit more momentum here. They were able to save the Valkyrie. They're close to a barrage, but Curious Cats coming up on 5 ultimates here. Definitely going to come down to who can use these massive ult banks more effectively. And now the Sombra goes down for Hexen.
That's terrible. You need that Sombra alive. The Sound Barrier sustains the Pharah, who is dangerously low, and there is no direct hit coming in. Having to walk inside them, Shatter's unable to secure it out, and just turns around and hits them. D.Va Bomb placed onto the point. There's no type of remake coming out, just looking to do much. But it looks like Curious Cats have the advantage. They have more picks inside their pocket. But the Reds goes on to Shatter the hack, the kill onto them. The only person left inside the Pharah and Ball, but there is so much target focus going out that I don't see much coming into this. We are still in one fight territory. However, there is a stall engagement coming in as we see the Lucio come out, but they finish it off. Do Hexen have the ability to touch this? I don't know, because the D.Va's just barely going onto it. It doesn't have the bomb to try to remech, and it's just sticking there as baby. The barrage comes out, finishes off that Sombra before the EMP get used. The Mines gets used by Hexen, but it looks like they're not going to be able to do much out of it. Look at that, the barrage gets used from Shatter, but unfortunately wasn't enough, as you're just going to be picked out from the sky. Lucio just doing the best, just trying to stall it out, but Curious Cats still have it. I'm sorry, Hexen, you did your best, you did as best as you could, but in the end, the Cats have 9 lives, and they're not ready to lose one as they take the victory.
I am very speechless. That was a very exciting last map. Both these teams running very, very interesting compositions very, very well. And in the end there, it kind of just felt like it came down to Curious Cats. You know, they did a great job adapting. They stole their opponent's composition and they ran it better. And I honestly believe, you know, a lot of what it came down to, I think Shadow was a little bit too focused there on that Pharah 1v1. Didn't really get a lot more value compared to their opponent on of Emery. Emery definitely did not focus so heavily on it, was able to find more value elsewhere, and still was winning the 1v1 a considerable amount of times. So kudos to Curious Cats, and congratulations on their victory.
Oh, 10 billion %. This was an amazing match, an amazing VOD material. Both of these teams know their weaknesses a lot easier now, and they'll be prepared against it. However, we're going to be going through a brief break as we get ready for the advanced game. I hope you stay tuned for this next GGEU match. We'll be coming back in a short bit.